What if I told you that the anxiety you've been carrying isn't actually coming from your life? What if the thing that's been stealing your peace, keeping you awake at night, and making your heart race isn't your circumstances, your future, or your problems? What if it's something much deeper than that? For a moment, stop whatever you're doing and listen carefully, because what you're about to hear has the power to completely change your relationship with anxiety forever. Right now, somewhere inside your mind, there is a voice talking. It's commenting on your life. It's judging, analyzing, comparing, worrying, predicting, and creating stories about what might happen tomorrow. That voice has probably been talking for so long that you've started believing it is who you are. But here's a question that could change everything. If you can hear that voice, who is listening? Think about it. The voice is talking, and yet something is aware of the voice. Something is watching the thoughts come and go. Something is noticing the fear, the worry, and the anxiety. That awareness is the real you, not the voice, not the thoughts, not the fear, the awareness behind them. Most people spend their entire lives trapped inside their minds because they never realize this simple truth. They believe every thought that appears. They treat every fear as a warning. They assume every anxious feeling means something is wrong. And because of that, they become prisoners of their own thinking. Imagine standing beside a river. Leaves are floating downstream. You notice them passing by. You don't chase them. You don't hold on to them. You simply watch. Now imagine jumping into the river and trying to grab every leaf. Soon you're exhausted, overwhelmed, pulled beneath the current. This is exactly what happens when you become identified with your thoughts. A worried thought appears. What if I fail? You grab it. Another appears. What if something bad happens? You grab that one too. Soon dozens of thoughts are pulling you in different directions, and before you know it, anxiety has taken over your entire experience. But the truth is that thoughts have no power on their own. They are simply mental events, like clouds moving across the sky. The sky doesn't fight the clouds. It doesn't chase them away. It doesn't become damaged because a storm passes through. It simply allows them to come and go. Your awareness is like the sky. Your thoughts are like the clouds. The problem begins when you forget that you are the sky and start believing you are the storm. So many people spend years fighting anxiety. They resist it, suppress it, judge it, fear it. They tell themselves they shouldn't feel this way. They try to force themselves to be calm. But have you ever noticed what happens when you fight your mind? The mind fights back. The more you resist fear, the stronger fear becomes. The more you push anxiety away, the more attention you give it. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more pressure builds. Eventually, it bursts back to the surface with even greater force. Real freedom doesn't come from defeating anxiety. Real freedom comes from no longer being afraid of it. That may sound strange at first, but think about it. What makes anxiety so painful isn't just the sensation itself. It's the resistance to the sensation. It's the belief that something terrible is happening. It's the fear of feeling fear. When you stop resisting, something remarkable begins to happen. The energy starts moving through you instead of becoming trapped inside you. The feeling rises. It stays for a while, and then it leaves, just as every emotion always does. Look back on your life. Think about all the fears you've experienced, all the moments when you were certain everything would fall apart, all the nights you couldn't sleep because your mind convinced you disaster was coming. How many of those fears actually happened exactly the way you imagined? Very few. Most of them existed only inside your mind, yet your body suffered as if they were real. This is what anxiety does. It convinces you to live in an imaginary future. It takes you away from the only place life is actually happening, the present moment. Notice something. Right now, in this exact moment, as you listen to these words, are you okay? Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Right now, in this moment. You are breathing. You are here. Life is unfolding. Yet the anxious mind is rarely interested in now. It is obsessed with what might happen later. It creates endless scenarios. What if I lose? What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if things go wrong? And because the mind cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality, the body responds as though those events are already happening. The heart races, the chest tightens, the muscles contract, stress floods the system, all because of something that doesn't exist. A thought, a projection, a story. The tragedy is that people sacrifice today's peace for tomorrow's imaginary problems. Years pass this way, entire lives pass this way. But there is another way to live, a way that doesn't require controlling every thought, a way that doesn't require eliminating uncertainty, a way that doesn't depend on making the world perfect. It begins with letting go, not letting go of responsibility, not letting go of your dreams, not letting go of caring, letting go of the need to control what cannot be controlled. Life has always been uncertain. No amount of worry can change that. No amount of anxiety can guarantee safety. No amount of fear can protect you from the future. Yet people spend their entire lives trying. The irony is heartbreaking. They sacrifice their peace in an attempt to secure a future that never arrives. Because when tomorrow comes, it is simply another now, and the mind immediately starts worrying about the next tomorrow. This cycle continues until you become conscious of it, until you realize that peace is not something waiting for you in the future. Peace is available right now, beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the endless stream of thoughts. There is a stillness within you, a place untouched by anxiety, untouched by worry, untouched by uncertainty. That place has always been there, watching, observing, present, even during your most difficult moments, even during your darkest nights, even when anxiety felt unbearable. That awareness remained untouched, because awareness itself cannot be harmed by a thought. The ocean is not harmed by the waves. The sky is not harmed by the clouds. And awareness is not harmed by the passing storms of the mind. The moment you begin resting in that awareness, everything changes. You stop trying to control every thought. You stop believing every fearful story. You stop making anxiety your identity. Instead, you become the witness, the observer, the conscious presence behind the experience. And from that place, anxiety starts losing its power, not because it disappears completely, but because you no longer feed it. You no longer build your life around it. You no longer believe it defines who you are. You begin to understand something profound. Thoughts are visitors. Feelings are visitors. Experiences are visitors. But you are the space in which they appear. And that space is infinitely larger than any fear. So the next time anxiety arrives, don't run from it. Don't fight it. Don't panic. Simply notice it. Observe it. Allow it to be there. Watch it the way you would watch a cloud crossing the sky. Because every cloud eventually passes. Every storm eventually ends. Every wave eventually returns to the ocean. And every anxious thought eventually dissolves when it is no longer being fueled by your resistance. You are stronger than you think. You are deeper than your thoughts. You are greater than your fears. And the peace you've been searching for has never been somewhere outside of you. It has always been here, waiting beneath the noise, waiting beneath the struggle, waiting beneath the fear. The moment you stop identifying with anxiety, anxiety begins to lose its grip. The moment you stop believing every thought, those thoughts lose their authority. And the moment you remember who you truly are, something extraordinary happens. You realize that anxiety may visit your mind, but it does not own your life. It may knock on the door, but it doesn't have to live in the house. And when that realization becomes real for you, not just intellectually, but deeply, something shifts. A freedom emerges, a peace that cannot be taken away by circumstances, a calm that exists even in uncertainty. And for the first time, you begin living from the deepest part of yourself rather than from the loudest voice in your head. That is the moment anxiety stops controlling you. That is the moment you become free. And if you stay with this understanding long enough, you begin to notice something that most people never notice. You begin to see that anxiety is not just an emotion. It is a habit of leaving the present moment, a habit of abandoning the life that is unfolding right in front of you in order to chase thoughts about a future that doesn't yet exist. Most people don't realize how often they do this. They're eating dinner, but they're thinking about tomorrow. They're with their family, but they're worrying about next month. They're lying in bed, but their mind is 10 years into the future, imagining everything that could possibly go wrong. The body remains here, but the mind travels elsewhere. And wherever attention goes, energy follows. This is why so many people feel exhausted, even when they've done nothing physically demanding. Their minds have been running marathons all day. They've been carrying imaginary problems, fighting imaginary battles, preparing for imaginary disasters. No wonder they're tired. No wonder they feel overwhelmed. No wonder anxiety feels unbearable. Imagine carrying a backpack At first it's light, barely noticeable, but every fearful thought becomes another stone placed inside it. Every worry adds another weight. Every obsession about the future adds another burden. Years pass. The backpack becomes heavier and heavier. Eventually the weight feels normal because you've carried it for so long. But normal doesn't mean natural. You were never meant to carry that much psychological weight. Life is already asking enough from you. Why add thousands of imagined burdens to the journey? The mind has a remarkable ability to create suffering out of possibilities. It whispers things like, what if this doesn't work out? What if they don't like me? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not enough? And because the mind repeats these thoughts again and again, they begin to feel true. Not because they are true, but because they are familiar. Human beings often mistake familiarity for truth. If you hear something enough times, you begin believing it, even if it isn't real. This is why so many people live inside stories that were never true to begin with. Stories about their worth, stories about their future, stories about what they can and cannot do, stories about who they think they are. And anxiety feeds on those stories. It grows stronger every time you believe them. But what happens when you stop believing every thought? What happens when you simply observe? Suddenly a distance appears. You realize that thoughts are not commands. They are not predictions. They are not reality. They are simply thoughts, nothing more. Think about standing in front of a mirror. The mirror reflects whatever appears before it. If someone smiling stands in front of it, it reflects a smile. If someone crying stands in front of it, it reflects tears. But the mirror itself remains unchanged. Awareness works the same way. It reflects happiness, it reflects sadness, it reflects excitement, it reflects anxiety. Yet awareness itself remains untouched. The problem begins when you stop being the mirror and start believing you're the reflection. You become lost in whatever emotion happens to be passing through. You forget your true nature. And because you forget, you suffer. One of the greatest fears people have is the fear of uncertainty. They want guarantees. They want promises. They want absolute certainty that everything will be okay. But life has never offered those guarantees. Not to anyone. Not even once. Every human being who has ever lived has walked through uncertainty. Every human being has faced the unknown. The difference is that some people resist uncertainty while others learn to dance with it. One approach creates anxiety. The other creates freedom. Consider the ocean. The ocean does not resist its waves. It allows them. The waves rise, the waves fall. The ocean remains. Human beings often try to stop the waves of life. They want only pleasant experiences, only comfortable moments, only certainty, only control. But life was never designed that way. Life moves, life changes, life surprises, life challenges. And when you stop fighting that reality, an incredible peace begins to emerge. Not because life becomes easier, but because you're no longer exhausting yourself resisting what already is. Many people believe peace comes after they solve all their problems, after they earn more money, after they find the perfect relationship, after they achieve their goals, after life finally becomes exactly the way they want it. But if you've lived long enough, you've probably noticed something. Every time one problem disappears, another appears. Every time one goal is reached, another goal takes its place. The mind always finds something else to worry about, something else to fix, something else to chase, something else to fear. If peace depends on everything being perfect, peace will never come, because perfection is a moving target. The mind keeps changing its definition. What you thought would make you happy 5 years ago is probably different from what you think will make you happy today. And 5 years from now, it will change again. The chase never ends, unless you step out of it, unless you realize that peace isn't found at the end of the journey. Peace is found in the way you walk the journey, right now, in this moment. Not someday, not eventually, now. This moment contains more life than all your thoughts about the future combined. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel your breath. Notice the simple fact that you are alive. There is something profoundly sacred about this moment. Yet most people miss it because they're too busy thinking about the next one. The mind says happiness is somewhere else. Life says happiness is here. The mind says peace will come later. Life says peace is available now. The mind says keep running. Awareness says be still. And perhaps the deepest tragedy is that many people spend their entire lives searching for what they already possess. They search for peace, yet peace is their nature. They search for freedom, yet freedom exists beneath their attachment to thought. They search for happiness. Yet happiness begins emerging naturally when they stop resisting life. Have you ever noticed that some of your most peaceful moments happened unexpectedly? Maybe you were watching a sunset. Maybe you were listening to rain. Maybe you were walking alone. Maybe you were sitting quietly with someone you love. In those moments, peace wasn't created, it was revealed. The mental noise temporarily stopped, and what remained was your natural state, a deep sense of presence, a deep sense of connection, a deep sense of being. That peace is always there, even now. The problem isn't that peace disappears. The problem is that mental noise covers it, like clouds covering the sun. The sun never leaves. It simply becomes hidden. And no matter how dark the clouds appear, the sun remains above them. The same is true for your inner peace. No matter how intense anxiety becomes, no matter how overwhelming fear feels, no matter how chaotic your mind appears, a deeper stillness remains untouched beneath it all. That stillness is not something you create. It is something you discover again and again, moment by moment, breath by breath. One of the most liberating realizations you can have is that you do not need to control every aspect of your life. Think about how much energy is spent trying to control things that cannot be controlled. Other people's opinions, the future, the past, outcomes, circumstances, events. The more tightly you grip life, the more tension you create. The more tension you create, the more anxiety you feel. But when you loosen your grip, something changes. Life begins flowing again. There is an old wisdom hidden within nature. Trees do not fight the wind, they bend. Water does not argue with obstacles, it flows around them. The sun does not struggle to shine, it simply shines. Nature teaches surrender everywhere, not surrender as weakness, surrender as harmony, surrender as trust, surrender as acceptance of reality. And perhaps this is what anxiety is ultimately trying to teach us. Not how to control life, but how to let go. Not how to become stronger than uncertainty, but how to stop fearing uncertainty. Not how to eliminate every uncomfortable feeling, but how to remain open even when discomfort appears. Because every experience that comes into your life is temporary. Every success, every failure, every joy, every sorrow, every fear, every victory, every challenge, everything changes, everything moves, everything passes. And if everything passes, why build your identity around temporary experiences? Why define yourself by passing thoughts? Why define yourself by passing emotions? You are not the passing experience. You are the awareness in which the experience appears. This understanding changes everything because awareness does not need protection. Awareness does not need control. Awareness does not fear not need control. Awareness does not fear the future. Awareness simply observes. And within that observation lies extraordinary freedom, a freedom that circumstances cannot touch, a freedom that exists even in uncertainty, a freedom that remains available even when anxiety knocks on the door. The next time anxiety appears, remember this. You do not have to solve it. You do not have to fight it. You do not have to run from it. Simply notice it, allow it, watch it, breathe through it, let it move through you. Because the moment you stop feeding anxiety with resistance, it begins losing its power. And eventually you realize something beautiful. The thing you've been searching for your entire life was never somewhere outside of you. Not in success, not in achievement, not in approval, not in certainty. It has always been within you, quietly waiting beneath the noise, quietly waiting beneath the fear, quietly waiting beneath the endless activity of the mind. And when you finally touch that place inside yourself, even for a moment, you understand something words can barely describe. You understand that peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of awareness. Peace is the willingness to remain open to life exactly as it is. Peace is trusting that you are larger than any thought, larger than any fear, and larger than any storm passing through your mind. And once you truly see that, anxiety can no longer control you the way it once did, because you finally know who you are. Not the voice, not the fear, not the worry, not the anxiety, but the awareness that has been watching all of it from the very beginning. And that awareness is already free.